people. Let's move on now to talking about IT business alignment. Jan, we talk about it all the time. It's a challenging thing to be able to facilitate. You talked about the technical users, the tech-savvy business users. Who in a customer's organization is responsible for the integration strategy and execution? And how can Celigo help facilitate alignment between the IT folks, the shadow IT folks, and the business users?
Yeah, so in general, IT, BizOps, those are the parties responsible for an integration strategy and automation strategy. Of course, it's based on the size of the company as well. Really large companies may have it grouped slightly differently, and really small companies may be a little bit more ad hoc. But by and large, the overall responsibility of having that blueprint lies with an IT type organization. That said, the devil is really in the details. Look, IT today, as you can imagine, is overrun with all types of requests coming from all kinds of constituencies. And one of the constituencies is automation and integration. And if you really look at, let's say, a mid-sized company or an enterprise type company, there's a lot from an integration perspective that IT needs to do. And it's practically impossible as an average for IT to be able to fulfill that. And that's where we get into this concept of how can others in the enterprise who might not be as technical, but those tech-savvy business users that we talked about earlier, the people, the leaders, the owners of the business process who know it really well, they know the problem that they want to solve. How can they take part and build some of these automations? So we call this a federated model. And in simplistic terms, it falls somewhere between a central IT model where everything goes through IT versus more of an ad hoc Wild West type model where IT is bypassed the whole shadow IT concept and users do everything. How can you find that happy medium where certain types of business processes, let's say quote to cash, how can that business process, every company is going to think about that differently, but typically that's the type of business process, as an example, that IT would want to manage themselves because it touches so many different applications. It's central to the business. You can argue that it's the backbone, the revenue backbone of the business, and you don't want anyone and everyone touching that particular business process. Now, that can still be built by IT and managed by IT, or it can be built by certain business owners, but ultimately managed by IT under lock and key.
Okay.
In a different example, let's say it's customer support, and there are certain use cases that need to be automated there. Mm-hmm. In that case, delegation makes a lot of sense. Why does IT need to be involved? IT can delegate that, empower those business units, those lines of business to go ahead and build it or help them, assist them, right? So there are many permutations, but a federated model allows for both. For IT to build and run something, for line of business users to build and run something, or any other permutation in the middle.
So the federated model to me sounds like an enabler of removing some of the friction that's probably there between business and IT, or real IT and shadow IT. And that sounds to me like maybe a differentiator in terms of if customers come to you saying, why Celigo?
Precisely, right? In this day and age, it's imperative that companies have optionality.
Yeah.
Look, some companies might decide to pass everything through IT, and that's fine. But more and more what we are seeing through our users, and we've got thousands of companies using our platform, we're seeing that users want to see this optionality. If they want empowerment, if they have the skill sets, and we think that's the way of the future.
Definitely.